Lina stands before a mirror in a pristine white dress. Suddenly, a single, thick drop of black ink falls onto her chest. It spreads rapidly like a living virus, staining the white fabric pitch black. She frantically tries to scrub it off. It only spreads faster, covering her hands and throat. The scene opens on a vibrant, sunlit university campus lawn. It is a beautiful spring day, full of life and color. Lina sits in the center of a circle of smiling friends. She is wearing a soft pink hijab that catches the sunlight perfectly. She is laughing, a bright, infectious sound that makes others smile too. She is telling a funny story, using animated hand gestures. Her friends look at her with obvious admiration and deep affection. To them, she is the definition of joy and unshakable faith. She helps a friend with her notes, offering kind, wise advice. She seems so light, so unburdened by the troubles of the world. The colors around her are pastel and airy. Creams, light blues, and soft greens. It is a picture-perfect image of a happy, devout young Muslim woman. But the camera lingers for a second too long on her smile. As she turns her head slightly away from the group, the smile drops instantly. A micro-expression of exhaustion and panic flashes across her face before disappearing. She quickly resets the mask, turning back to laugh at a joke. She is performing a role she has perfected over many years. She is terrified that the mask might one day slip completely. Later that afternoon, Lina is in the university prayer room. It is a peaceful, carpeted space filled with other students praying. Lina stands in the front row, performing her salah with beautiful, slow movements. Her recitation is melodious and soft, drawing subtle attention from others. A younger student watches her from the back, admiring her apparent devotion. Lina holds her hands in dua for a long time after the prayer. She looks like the picture of piety and spiritual connection. But internally, her mind is a chaotic storm of noise and guilt. She feels like a complete fraud standing there in the holy space. If they knew what I did, she thinks, her heart pounding, if they knew who I really am, they would turn away. She feels a burning heat of shame rising up her neck. The beautiful recitation is just muscle memory. Her heart feels disconnected and blocked. She finishes her prayer and quickly looks around to see if anyone noticed. She offers a polite smile to the girl watching her, hiding her fear. She feels unworthy of being in this house of worship today. Lina unlocks the door to her bedroom and steps inside. As soon as the door clicks shut, the atmosphere shifts dramatically. The bright, pastel colors of her public life seem to drain away instantly. The room is tidy, but it feels cold and shadowed to her. She drops her bag on the floor and leans heavily against the door. The exhaustion of maintaining the facade washes over her like a physical wave. She walks to her mirror and looks at her own reflection. The visual metaphor manifests. A small, inky black stain appears over her heart. It is like a drop of oil on water, dark and viscous. It pulses slowly, matching the heavy beat of her guilty heart. She touches her chest as if she can physically feel the stain. It represents the secret sin she has been hiding from everyone she loves. The room's lighting dims, casting long, sharp shadows that seem to reach for her. She feels dirty, spiritually unclean, despite her outward appearance of purity. The silence of the room is not peaceful. It is accusing. It amplifies the voice of her conscience, which is screaming at her. Lina sits on the edge of her bed, holding her phone. A notification pops up, perhaps a message related to her secret, or a memory. Her eyes widen in fear, and her hands begin to tremble uncontrollably. She quickly swipes the notification away, deleting it as if it burns her. But the damage is done. The memory has been triggered vividly. The inky black stain on her chest visibly expands, spreading darker tendrils outwards. It seems to be seeping into her very skin, becoming part of her. She curls up on the bed, pulling her knees to her chest. She feels trapped by her own past actions and current weakness. Allah will never forgive me. The whisper of despair, Yaz, enters her mind. I have gone too far this time. I am too broken. This thought is the heaviest burden of all, heavier than the sin itself. The room feels like it is shrinking, the walls closing in on her. The black ink drips from her reflection in the mirror, pooling on the floor. She feels completely alone in the universe, cut off from mercy. She wants to cry, but the tears are stuck in her throat. Days slowly turn into a blur of agonizing gray anxiety for Lina. She sits frozen in a large, crowded university lecture hall. Students surround her on every side, chatting and laughing, but she cannot hear a single word the professor says. The lecture is just a distant, meaningless drone in her ears. The inky black stain on her chest has grown significantly larger. It is no longer just a small spot over her racing heart. It has spread like black, poisonous veins up her pale neck. It creeps slowly down her arms, hidden under her long sleeves. She pulls her cardigan tighter around herself, terrified someone will see it. The stain feels incredibly heavy, physically weighing down her chest like lead. It makes every single breath feel shallow and difficult to take. The vibrant colors of the lecture hall seem muted and dull. It is as if she is looking through dirty, smoked glass. She looks down at her hands resting on the wooden desk. For a terrifying second, she hallucinates that her fingertips are turning black. She rubs them frantically against her jeans to clean the ink off. But there is no ink there. The stain is entirely internal. The guilt is consuming her perception of reality completely and relentlessly. She feels marked, stained, and fundamentally different from everyone else around her. She believes she carries a contagious virus that separates her from goodness. The fear of exposure is a constant, low-level hum in her mind. It drowns out all joy, focus, and peace in her life. She feels like an imposter in her own skin, waiting to be caught. Lina returns to her apartment, seeking desperate refuge from the outside world. But her home has become a suffocating prison of her own making. Her phone buzzes loudly on the bed with messages from her friends. "We miss you, Lina. Come out for coffee," the screen reads brightly. She stares at the cheerful messages with a mix of longing and fear. She types a quick, common lie. "I'm not feeling well today." She sends it and throws the phone away onto the messy bed. She actively isolates herself to protect her secret from ever being discovered. As she pushes people away, the room physically seems to darken further. The shadows in the corners stretch out like long, dark, grasping fingers. They seem to point at her, accusing her in the heavy silence. The inky stain on her chest pulses faster, feeding on her isolation. It begins to drip audibly onto the floor, pooling darkly around her feet. She feels trapped in a small box built of her own shame. The air in the room feels thick, heavy, stagnant, and hard to breathe. She looks at her prayer mat rolled up tightly in the corner. She wants desperately to unroll it and pray, but a dark voice whispers, "Don't bother," it hisses. "You are too dirty to stand before him right now." She listens to the whisper and sinks further into the couch, defeated. The distance between her and Allah feels infinite and impossible to bridge. Exhausted by the relentless mental battle, Lina falls into a fitful, restless sleep. Her dreams are vivid, terrifying manifestations of her internal spiritual state. She finds herself standing alone in a vast, endless, silent white void. Suddenly, the solid ground beneath her feet turns into a pool of black ink. She tries to run, but her feet are stuck fast in the sludge. The thick, viscous liquid rises rapidly, covering her ankles, then her knees. She struggles to move, but the ink is heavy and thick like tar. It rises to her waist, grabbing her with a cold, sticky, iron grip. She screams for help, but no sound comes out of her mouth. She sees her friends in the far distance, walking happily in the light. They cannot see her drowning in the darkness of her own secret sin. The ink reaches her chest, squeezing the air from her lungs like a snake. It smells like old earth, decay, and forgotten regrets. She looks up, and the sky turns pitch black as well, blocking hope. She is completely engulfed, drowning in the consequences of her own actions. She feels the absolute primal terror of being cut off from all light. The dream is a stark warning of where her soul is heading. It is a vision of Yas, total despair of Allah's mercy. She is sinking into the abyss, and there is no hand to pull her out. Lina wakes up gasping for air, drenched in cold sweat, her heart pounding. The room is pitch black, mirroring the terrifying nightmare she just escaped. She scrambles out of bed and rushes blindly to the bathroom across the hall. She turns on the harsh fluorescent light, needing desperately to see reality. She looks into the mirror, her hands gripping the cold porcelain sink tightly. The reflection that stares back at her is terrifyingly broken, hollow, and unrecognizable. Her face is deathly pale. Her eyes are dark pits of hopelessness. The inky stain is not just on her chest anymore in this reflection. It covers her entire body like a second, suffocating skin of shame. She sees herself as a monster, irredeemable, damaged, and lost forever. "It's too late for me," she whispers hoarsely to the cold glass. "I have ruined everything. There is no way back from this." This is the ultimate lie of Shaitan, engaging her in the trap of despair. She slides down the wall to the cold tiled floor, defeated completely. She buries her face in her hands, unable to even cry anymore. The weight is too heavy for tears to wash away right now. She sits in the humming silence, believing she is uniquely broken and rejected. The bathroom light flickers overhead, casting her in a strobing, disjointed shadow. She is at the absolute bottom of the pit, alone with her sin. She feels the doors of mercy have slammed shut in her face. Lina sits curled tightly like a frightened child on the cold, hard bathroom floor tiles. She feels the crushing, unbearable physical weight of her own shame pressing her down. The black ink stain on her chest pulses painfully like a fresh, open wound. It feels like a living parasite draining the light from her soul. She whispers into the humming silence, her voice trembling with absolute fear. I am too far gone. There is no hope for someone like me. But in that deepest pit of darkness, a tiny, persistent thought flickers. It is a faint, distant memory of a childhood lesson she learned long ago. It reminds her of the infinite, encompassing vastness of Allah's mercy. She lifts her head slowly, heaviness in her neck, looking up at the ceiling. Tears stream down her face, mixing with the metaphysical black ink. She realizes with a jolt that despair is actually the ultimate trap of Shaitan. Thinking her sin is bigger than God's mercy is an act of pure arrogance. She is human, she is weak, and she fell incredibly hard. But the one who created her knows her weakness more perfectly than she does. The tight, suffocating grip of the ink loosens just a tiny fraction. The room is still dark, but the air changes subtly around her. A very faint, soft white light appears nearby in the gloom. It signifies the beginning of the end of her despair. Driven by a sudden spark of need, she crawls back to her bedroom. She seeks a spiritual lifeline to pull her out of the abyss. She reaches for her phone on the bed, her hands still shaking violently. She opens her Qur'an app, searching desperately for a specific verse she needs. Her eyes scan the digital text through her blurred, tear-filled vision. She finds Surah Az-Zumar, Ayah 53, shining brightly on the screen. Say, "O my servants who have transgressed against themselves," the words glow. "Do not despair of the mercy of Allah. Indeed, Allah forgives all sins." The words hit her with the force of a sudden violent storm. They shatter the hard, calcified shell of her hopelessness instantly and completely. The black ink on her chest physically recoils from the screen's light. It cannot withstand the absolute truth of the divine promise of forgiveness. She reads the verse again, out loud this time, her voice trembling. Her voice breaks on every word, but they carry immense healing power. The room brightens significantly, the dark shadows retreating rapidly to the corners. She realizes she is not defined forever by her past mistake. She is defined by how she chooses to return to him now. The door of mercy was never locked. She just stopped knocking. Lina rushes to the bathroom to perform wudu with a sudden, desperate need. She scrubs her face, arms, and feet with deep, deliberate intention, imagining every drop of water washing away a layer of her mistake, as per the prophetic tradition that sins fall away with the water droplets. The cool water feels like liquid light washing over her tired skin. She stands on her prayer mat, facing the Qibla with renewed resolve, her heart pounding against her ribs. She raises her hands for takbir, surrendering her burden completely to him. Allahu Akbar, she cries out, severing the worldly connection instantly. She enters the prayer of Tawbah, repentance, with a totally broken heart. In sujud, she pours out every single ounce of her regret, her forehead pressing into the ground as if trying to merge with the earth in humility. Ya Allah, forgive me. I was weak, foolish, and lost. I return to you broken, so please fix me. The thick black ink stain on her chest begins to dissolve rapidly. It turns into wisps of gray smoke and evaporates into the air. The heavy, crushing weight on her shoulders lifts physically away from her. She weeps uncontrollably into the mat, but these are tears of pure release. She feels the toxic shame leaving her body and her weary soul. The room fills with a brilliant, cleansing, translucent water blue light. It is the color of purification, mercy, and fresh new beginnings. She stays in prostration for a long time, letting the light wash through her. She feels the knot of anxiety in her chest finally untie. Lina sits back on her heels, finally finishing her prayer with salam. She wipes her wet face with her hands, taking a deep, shuddering breath that fills her lungs completely. The air in the room smells fresh, like rain after a heat wave, crisp and revitalizing. She looks down at her chest, touching her heart gently with her hand. The inky black stain is completely, miraculously gone without a trace. Her white dress is spotless again, shining with a renewed spiritual purity, symbolizing the erasing of the sin from her record. A profound, overwhelming sense of peace settles deep inside her chest, anchoring her. It is the peace of being forgiven, washed, and accepted back into the fold of divine care. The divine light in the room is now blindingly bright and warm. It is a pure white light, warm and embracing her completely, like a protective cloak. She feels light as a feather, unburdened, clean, and truly free for the first time in months. The silence is no longer accusing or heavy. It is comforting, holy, and filled with the presence of angels. She realizes that Allah loves the repentant sinner very, very deeply. She is not a failure. She is a beloved returning servant who has learned a vital lesson. Her heart beats steadily, strong and clean once again in her chest. She remains on the mat, basking in the divine warmth and light. The nightmare is over. She has woken up to a new reality. A few days later, Lina walks across the vibrant university campus with a new, confident stride. The sun shines brightly, illuminating her soft pink hijab today, making it glow. She meets her friends near the library, smiling genuinely and warmly. This time, there is no heavy mask hiding her true feelings, no fear lurking behind her eyes. Her smile reaches her eyes, which sparkle with a clear inner light that others can sense. The pastel colors of the world look vibrant, sharp, and real, no longer dulled by her internal gray fog. There is no hidden shadow, no nagging fear of being found out or exposed. She laughs freely, her joy grounded in a deep spiritual safety that no human can take away. The water blue aura of peace surrounds her gently everywhere she goes. She is no longer hiding a dark, consuming secret from everyone. She has settled her account with the only one who truly matters, and that is enough. Her friends sense her new lightness and gravitate towards her warmth, feeling the positive shift in her energy. She is a source of positivity again, not a dreaming hidden void. She walks with the dignity of someone who has been thoroughly cleansed. The nightmare of the ink is just a distant, faded memory, a scar that reminds her of His mercy. She feels grateful for the hard lesson and the second chance. She understands now that her weakness was a path to His strength. Lina sits in her sunlit room, looking at the camera. Her expression is incredibly soft, compassionate, and deeply welcoming. She leans forward, speaking directly to the viewer's heart. "We all make mistakes, and we all have secrets," she says. Shaitan wants you to think your sin is too big. She pauses, her eyes filled with tears of gratitude. He wants you to drown in shame and silence forever. But Allah's mercy is an ocean that has no shore. She smiles, a radiant beam of hope and reassurance. Don't let your guilt become a wall between you two. Turn it into a bridge back to His love. No stain is too dark for Him to wash away. Make Tawbah today, right now, and feel the weight lift. You are loved, you are forgiven, you are free. She places a hand on her heart, signaling peace. Return to Him, and He will run to you.